Go. So the paradox of early comparative literature. So what is the paradox? We have to go quickly. Okay. The term comparative literature started its journey when there was a problematic situation in Europe. Okay, that is the situation of transition in Europe. Why? Because in Europe at that time many countries had been struggling for getting independence, and they were trying to get independence from several empires. Empire means Ottoman Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire, from France, from Russia, and they had been trying to get independence from this empire, and the new states, they had been coming into existence, and when the new states were coming into being or existence, they were getting the cultural identity. They were trying to get the national identity. What is their cultural identity? What is their national identity? Okay. And comparatists, they had been doing at the time, ignored the type of heated political context of Europe. So this context, that is in Europe at that time, was a situation, the political turmoil was there. Some countries were getting independence, some countries were fighting with each other. So that was the situations. And there, every country were very much sensitive about their cultural and national identity. They have our culture is great. Other countries is speaking that our language is great, our literature is great. And among them, the French is the most sensitive. France is the most sensitive of all countries. France has been talking, that is, they thought that they are the best in terms of their culture and their language and their literature. So France, this means that France was very much conscious and careful about their cultural identity and roots. And the similar situation was Europe. That is, Europe thought that, so France, that their culture, their literature and language is great in comparison to the other European countries. And Europe, they had been thinking that their Europe culture, Europe literature, Europe language is greater than the other parts of this world. Have you got the analogy? The French thought in terms of Europe that the French culture is great, and the Europe thought that their culture is great from the culture of Asia, Africa, even America. That was the situation. Okay. And at that time, the Ottoman Empire, they covered many countries at that time. Ottoman, they started their journey from Turkey, yeah, and they spread it, and they started the Ottoman Empire. They started their journey in 1290, and they occupied the political power of many countries like Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Macedonia, Hungary, Israel, Lebanon, Syria. Okay, so these were dominated by Ottoman Empire. And apart from the Ottoman Empire, an Ottoman Empire next time declared the independent Republic of Turkey. That was happened in 1922. Okay, apart from the Ottoman Empire, we have got another empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire. Yes. Okay, and the red circle area covered this Austro-Hungarian Empire. And these were the country, that is Hungary, and also Moldova, Austria, Hungary, Bohemia. Okay, so these are the countries, they dominated this empire. Okay, and also this other parts, that is Poland, Romania, Italy, Ukraine, Serbia. Some parts of this country were included also this Austro-Hungarian Empire. So Ottoman Empire and Austro-Hungarian Empire. Apart from that, we have seen also the France. France also dominated many countries in Europe. that 80 colonies just after British colony. British has more colony. The second most colonies the France had. Okay, so the 34 countries gained independence from France and its history, and the second most in the world behind the British Empire. So, and again the Russia. So the country were getting independence from the Russia, France, Austro-Hungarian Empire and Ottoman Empire. And when they were getting independence, they had been thinking about their own culture and own language, and also our concern is their literature. Okay. From them, Lord Macaulay consigned Indian and Arabian literatures are not significant. As we have said that France thought that their literature is greater than the other literature of Europe, and in the same way Europe thought that their literature is greater than the other part of this world. So Macaulay, he thought that Indian and Arabian literature are not significant. Okay, and in the same way Charles had an absolute belief that the superiority of his own culture. Okay, so the context is that always they had the idea that their culture, language is superior. Okay, so Charles also were the product of the Europe of their time, and they recognized the interrelatedness of European literary system. Interrelatedness of European literary system. And the part of the other nations, and they are the part of the nations in the great civilizing mission. That means Europe thought that their civilization is great, and their literature is great, and their culture is great. And he perceived that the literature came from outside Europe as alien. Alien cannot be compared with the complete human being, isn't it? So Macaulay and Charles, they are the product of the Europe. They thought that their literature is great, so the literature produced in the other part of this Europe, they are alien, not literature in. But Goethe, he had a little bit advanced. Goethe remarked that world literature, he needs to make a reconciliation. He said that world literature, and eventually he turned his attention to the literatures beyond Europe and the term world literature. So the world literature, comparative literature, the term first mentioned by Goethe, and Goethe said that the term mentioned that world literature. World literature means the world literature. So with the comment of Goethe, the debate or the fighting between Europe and the other parts, that whose literature is great, European or Asian or African, that were thinking. Okay. So in such a way, comparative literature move on. Okay, and comparative literature started its journey in such a way, and that was moving on forwards. Okay, and in such a way, apart from this condition, we are getting that first chair was established. That means Ulrich Wilson says, that is Jean-Jacques Empire, author of the Historique de la Literature, that's like that. Okay, that is the first chair, and must be regarded to the true father of systematically conceived comparative literature in France. And what Villemin and Empire did to write what could be described as the histories of literature, showing pattern of connection and influence. And it was not until later that the chair of comparative literature was first established, and that was established in 1897 in Lyon. Okay, so French comparative literature dominated the field, and the other European countries and much slower in establishing the chair. But in the United States, however, Charles Chauncey Sackville taught in a course general and comparative literature. Okay, and next time Charles Mill Galley taught comparative literature criticism, University of Michigan in 1887. So Charles Mill Gale established the first chair of comparative literature in Michigan University. Okay, so when there was a competition in Europe, apart from the Europe, in America, the first chair was established at Michigan University in 1887. And comparative literature began to establish internationally after that. And Hutchinson Macaulay, Professor of Classics and English Literature in University College, Auckland, New Zealand, and there he published the first journal of comparative literature. So first chair was established in America, Michigan University. Next, the first journal of comparative literature that was published in 1886. And after that, two periodicals was published by Max Koch in two periodicals, that is in 1887 to 1910. Okay. So throughout the 19th century, the use of term comparative literature was flexible. Okay, flexible in what sense? In Europe, they were trying to put the national consciousness. তারা তাদের নিজের সাহিত্যকে এবং নিজের ভাষাকে এবং নিজের রুটকে আইডেন্টিফাই করতে চাচ্ছে ইন ইউরোপের মধ্যে। ইউরোপরা বলছে যে হচ্ছে আমাদের সাহিত্য কর্মই হচ্ছে সবচেয়ে সেরা। ওকে, এর বাইরে পাশাপাশি আমেরিকানরা বলছে যে আমার সাহিত্য সেরা। ওকে, বাট আমেরিকাতে প্রথম কম্পারেটিভ লিটারেচারের চেয়ার প্রতিষ্ঠা হলো, তারপরে প্রথম কম্পারেটিভ লিটারেচারের জার্নাল পাবলিশড হলো, এরপরে আরও দুটো পিরিয়ডিক্যাল পাবলিশ হলো কম্পারেটিভ লিটারেচারের উপর। ওকে, ইন সাচ এ ওয়ে দ্য স্টোরি মুভস অন। And comparative literature comprises the mutual relation between Greek and Latin literature. So another writer, Paul Van Tigenham, he observing this situation, that means in Europe, in America, in New Zealand, in other parts of this world, Tigenham said that comparative literature comprises the mutual relation between the Greek and Latin literature. Okay, so he proposed instead that the modern literature were best suited to comparative literature. He also suggested that comparison should take place between two elements only. So Tigenham, he said that actually not the cultural roots, not the or not the language root, not the literary root. Comparison can be done between two elements. He made this quite simple in his quotation. And actually Tigenham's narrow definition in 1931 continues to affect our understanding of comparative literature, and it is worth trying to trace that the shift in attitude towards literature. So one critic commented in a different way, another critic commented in a different way. So comparative literature was drifting, okay, and it was going from one place to another. Some say national culture literature and others say in a different way. And Tigenham said that it would be anything can be compared in comparative literature. So he said oral culture, folklore and pre-Renaissance literature outside the boundaries of his comparative literature, and formulated the notion of binary studies. So Tigenham comments that is two elements can be compared. So two elements can be from language, two elements can be from folklore, two elements can be from oral literature. Okay, so that can be compared, can be called the binary opposition. That means two elements putting together, we will be comparing those two elements. Okay, so in this regard they tried to make a definition. Actually we are giving the definition from the very beginning, but actually comparative literature from going from one place to another place to another in such a way it is not getting a solid ground. Okay. Readers today, considering France and Germany as the twin giant in European economic community, moving on beyond to the both the revolution of the rise and the fall of Napoleon, France by the mid-19th century was the wealthy power with colonies throughout the world, a strong industrial base and a belief in the superiority of its language, institution and culture. So France and Germany, they were great. In which sense? From their political and economic power. Germany, on the other hand, was an assortment of little states, that means connection of several states united by language, striving towards the political center in search of a soul. So France thought that their culture, literature, economy is great, and Germany, that was at that time was a collection of several states, and Germany was trying to found its soul. What is their soul? What is the center of Germany? Here, national characteristics, Ferdinand Branteri said in 1900 that the history of comparative literature will sharpen in each one of the French or English or German and the understanding of the most national characteristics of our great writers. So next time this critic said that actually comparative literature will be the understanding of our great writers, a different way, not language and culture. He said that actually through the comparative literature we can identify and we can put our writer in the world arena. That means our great writer will be compared with others. So that was the German perspectives we have got. Van Tickenham, this American composer, he told a little bit further. In his comment, he said that this fairy tale, myth, legend, this folklore, and not literary history. For the latter is the history of the human mind viewed through the art of writing. In this subdivision of thematology. So, Van Tickenham, he said that folklore, fairy tale, myth, these are not at the part of literary tradition. Actually, who has written this folklore? There is no writer of folklore, myth and legend. So, he said that, okay, folklore, myth, they can be compared in comparative literature, but they can be compared in terms of thematology, because folklore will not tell that it is written in Germany, it is written in France or some other country. যেহেতু লোককথা, মিথ, এগুলোর যেহেতু প্রকৃত অর্থে রাইটার নেই, সো ভ্যান টিগেনহ্যাম বলল যে এগুলো আসলে কালচারাল রুটকে আইডেন্টিফাই করে না। তাহলে এগুলো কি করে? এগুলোকে কম্পেয়ার করা যাবে কোন পার্সপেক্টিভে? উই হ্যাভ টু কম্পেয়ার দ্য থিম। So according to Van Tickenham's idea that we have to compare the theme of this folklore and the art of writing and like that. That was Van Tickenham's idea. Okay. So in such a way, the professor of Indiana University, Aldrich Weinstein, puts it, referring to the situation of Hitler's Germany in 1930, how could comparative literature flourish in a country in which the plays of Shakespeare, Molière, Eugene O'Neill were banned from the stage, and where the novels of the great French and Russian writers were no longer accessible. Okay, so Germany at the time, Germany initiated the first step for comparative literature. But the professor Aldrich, a professor of Indiana University, he said that জার্মানিতে শেক্সপিয়ার পড়ানো হয় না, মলিয়ের পড়ানো হয় না। ইট ইজ এ কমেন্ট বাই দ্য প্রফেসর আলরিচ যে যদি জার্মানিতে শেক্সপিয়ার, মলিয়ের, ইউজিন অনিল যদি ব্যান্ড হয় তাহলে তারা কিভাবে এই কম্পারেটিভ লিটারেচারের বিষয়ে কমেন্ট করে। ওকে, সো দিস ওয়াজ দ্য কমেন্ট বাই দ্য প্রফেসর অফ ইন্ডিয়ানা ইউনিভার্সিটি আলরিচ ওয়েনস্টিন। And where the novels of the great French and the Russian writers were no longer accessible. এবং সেখানে শুধু জার্মানিতে শেক্সপিয়ারই পড়ানো হয় না তা না, সেখানে ফ্রেঞ্চ এবং রাশিয়ান লিটারেচারও পড়ানো হয় না। যদি তাই হয় তাহলে জার্মানিতে তারা কিভাবে কম্পারেটিভ লিটারেচার তারা ফ্লারিশ করবে এবং তারা পাবলিশ করবে। দ্যাট ইজ দ্য পয়েন্ট পয়েন্টেড বাই আলরিচ ওয়েনস্টেইন, প্রফেসর অফ ইন্ডিয়ানা ইউনিভার্সিটি। So he set out that the three principal tasks. What does it mean? কেন? কত বাজে সময়? কোথায় ছিলেন? হ্যাঁ? আবার হসপিটালে ছিলেন। হসপিটালে কার জন্য? কে অসুস্থ? বাবা। আসেন। আপনার বাবা ভালো আছে এখন? হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ he set out three principal tasks: a revelation of literary history, which he described as having been regarded as to the ওর বাবা মনে হয় সিরিয়াসলি অসুস্থ নাকি? হ্যাঁ, তোমরা জানো না? Sorry to hear that. আপনার বাবার সুস্থতা কামনা করি। হ্যাঁ, cool down. So he set out three principal tasks at the revolution of literary history, which he described as having been relegated to the status of the handmaiden, okay, of the political history, philosophy, and the revolution of the translation as an art, and a belief in multilingualism. Okay, so that was another comment done by another writer. So in such a way, the Montage journal had little impact on the development of comparative literature in Europe. And next time in England, at the end of the 19th century, the political agitation was too rampant in the peaceful cultivation of letters amidst the demands of the ward and the public centers. So in England, that was the political situation was severe in such a way. So in Europe, the political situation was severe. In Europe, in America, they established their first chair in comparative literature. And next time we see another comment by René Wallick. René Wallick pointed out that it is impossible to draw a line between comparative literature and general literature. So what would be the general literature and what would be the comparative literature? Between, say, the influence of Walter Scott in France and the rise of the historical novel, beside the term general literature leads itself to confusion. So it has been understood to mean literary theory, poetics, and the principles of literature. So René Wallick put some other things, that what would be the definition of general literature and what would be the definition of comparative literature. And in that case, he said that some other terms should be included, that is the literary theory, poetics, and the principles of literature should be included in comparative literature. Okay, so in such a way, Austin Warren and René Wallick returns again to the attack, this time suggesting that the result of the narrow binary approach has been a decline in interest in comparative literature in recent years. So the comparative literature started its journey with the turmoil situation in Europe, okay, and next time through the political through the political agitation in Europe. We have seen that in America they established their first chair in comparative literature, and in New Zealand they have published their journal on comparative literature, and the other parts comparative literature were there. And also Van Tegen have said that that is the binary opposition, that means two elements will be compared between each other in such a way. So there is no place in the postmodernist world for a subject that continue to quibble about whether Yeats should be considered Irish or English. Okay, and in England there was also the political turmoil, and whether the study of the impact of Ibsen or the modernist drama can be properly termed comparative or general literature. So again we get another comparison, that is comparative literature and general literature. So in one hand we had political turmoil in Europe, and for this reason many countries were trying to get independence from the empire, Ottoman Empire, and also the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So they were getting their cultural identity and the cultural roots. So France, they thought that their literature and culture is great, and Europe thought that their literature is great in comparison to the other parts of this world. In such a way, comparative literature was not getting a solid ground, and next time it has become the ground in such a way that there would be a definition, that is comparative literature and general literature. So comparative literature, general literature, in such a way the term moved on and on. Okay, so one time in Europe, comparative literature started its journey. In Germany, France, they initiated the comparative literature with the ideals of national identity and cultural identity. Next time it moved on to parts of America and the parts of New Zealand and the other parts of this world.